All right, Coach. Man, I love keeping doing this stuff. I mean, the fact
bonus
that
coverage of the podcast.
bonus coverage, it's fantastic. It's the fact that we don't have to talk about the wrap-up show right now. We're on to another week, man. What an amazing game against Ouachita. I mean, you guys just kept going. It was an absolute shootout. I mean, a great football game, and you guys just took it to them and never stopped and came out victorious.
Yeah, environment was awesome. You're always curious as a coach. First time in a long time, a team that hasn't gone into postseason play. We've had a lot of firsts this year, obviously, as we've talked about. So, you're always a little curious during the week, kind of how are they going to handle, a first round playoff. Do they is it a pressure pack deal? I think what's really cool about our team right now is they don't. There is a quiet confidence about them. They don't. We talk humility all the time, but they do have kind of a little confidence about them. They kind of don't. They've kind of gotten where they just kind of don't care who they play. They don't care who's ranked what. Or I think that comes with finding out that they can, if they just play hard for 4 quarters and just grind it out, that they have a chance to win. I think that's helped. So yeah, just real proud of them and the environment. The whole week of playoff football, there's nothing like it. It's like I told them, it's a whole different experience. It's a new season, and they're having fun with it to this point.
You guys get there, obviously, a different challenge, too, as we talked about last week on the podcast, going into a place that you haven't seen, going to a team that you didn't know you're going to face until less than a week before. That's the way playoffs works, but you guys get it done. I mean, it was a hard-fought game all the way through. I mean, you guys, especially with the offense having to really match their offense.
Yeah, probably, so impressed with their run game. I mean, Coach Knight, they do a great job. They pride themselves in the run. They block very well. They've got a great scheme, good players, quarterback's elusive. I mean, we kind of knew defensively our hands were full with that offense, but we also kind of I kind of felt pretty confident about our offense against their defense. I just felt like there's one team in their league that's kind of similar to us, and I knew they'd be watching a lot of film of that game and how did they defend that quarterback and everything. But Cade's special. I mean, I think, and so I kind of had a feeling it could be just a tennis match of just, counter punch is why we It's kind of why we tried to take the clock all the way to the end. At the end, we just figured whoever had the ball last was going to win. Sure. It kind of ended up, they had the ball last, but we were able to at least take the lead with a minute left there, and because it kind of those kind of games were coming down to it. Nobody likes, as defensive coach, I don't like shootouts, but we kind of had in the back of my mind that could be possibly what it was.
Yeah, and it wasn't only the offense doing their job, but guys coming up big at the right times and special teams. I mean, Brett Gardner making 2 big field goals, kind of funny. One to start the scoring and one to end the scoring for you was the game-winning field goal. Yeah. And then Spencer Red, 97-yard touchdown return, probably the best play I've seen all year.
Yeah, Coach Anderson started, our special teams coordinator started back in spring. He started this little breakdown of all of our special teams meetings. So special teams wins games. So every time we've broke down this year, it's special teams wins games. I think a Monday ago in our team meeting regarding this playoff game, I just said, hey guys, I got to tell you, speaking from experience, I've been blessed to be in 15 or 16 playoff games in my career. And I haven't even done the math, but the percent of those that came down the special teams is high. Mm-hmm. And so we stressed that, and sure enough, really a kickoff return and a last second or a game-winning field goal ends up being really a big deciding factor in this game. So it was a little prophetic, but it's kind of off history,
Yeah.
So have those guys kind of buy into that. We played. We got the 3 phases of the game as far as wins go, and that's what playoff football requires.
And on the final drive, I mean, obviously JP coming up big. It was one of those, like you said, whoever gets the ball last you thought would win the game because it's been a shootout. When you saw the way they've been moving the ball and then that final interception, what were your thoughts going through your head?
Well, it was a little bit like, we were it's always a tough decision, after you take the lead and you're only up by 3 and they've got, number 4 back there's a heck of a player, quick, fast. So, we're trying to make a split decision of, do we pooch kick this thing or do we kick it off to him? So you're sacrificing some field position or
Sure.
do we covered the kick all all day pretty well. But, it's just still that one time that you kick to a kid like that. And if he gets through and then all of a sudden you're behind. So I'm the one, I made the decision to Coach, and I said, hey, let's sky kick this thing. And so they took the ball at the 40, and you're kind of like, well, you're hoping it's more like around the 28, 29,
sure.
not the 40.
Right.
But, so I'm kind of like, okay. But, they moved two quick plays. They crossed to our side of the field. And, but, and then to see JP, I mean, I just saw, when I saw the play action and I just kind of, my eyes went to see where the quarterback's throwing it. I saw JP's right with him. They're both hand fighting a little bit. So, I know their crowd thought it was an interference call, but when you see the film, I mean, it's
back and forth.
It's back and forth.
100%.
But the key is just to, he's doing all of his technique perfect, chest to chest technique. And then when he saw the ball and he made the turn and just made an incredible catch to seal the game. So, again, well coached by our coaches, when the technique works, and JP buying into that and making that big play. And, and that's just kind of been our team this year. I think defensively, we know the adversity we've been through. We know kind of the shuffling around and have the next guys up. And, this deep in the year, you're always going to have injuries, but to see what our guys are playing through, we've given up some things defensively in the run game on Saturday, but when it's time to make a play on the fourth down right before half, I mean, huge. I mean, they had kind of been moving the ball at will a little bit in that half, and we kind of knew it. But man, when it was fourth down, our guys rose up, made a play, and then of course at the end of the game, they're making plays when they need to right now, and that's it's working.
Catch by JP, I don't think a lot of people are realizing how big of a catch it was, because I mean, he was full out diving, and that ball hits the ground, they still have life, and that sealed it. I mean, it was just there were so many key plays in that game. I mean, between the offense, defense, special teams, that was a full game. You guys had to play a full 4.
Absolutely.
You did. Yeah.
That's what we've stressed all year. Just to be where you're at, you got to play tough 4 quarters. And learning our lesson early in the year where we didn't play 4 quarters, it kind of reminded them that's what happens. And so now that we had second life in the playoffs, to see these guys playing 4 quarters of football, it's they're liking the result of that.
It's got to be awesome to have the first ever NCAA Division II playoff win on your guys' resume now. I think we've talked about this. It's kind of with this team, it's almost like you don't have to ask this question anymore, because I know what the thought is. But 8 wins in a row. You beat the number 2 seed, you knock off an undefeated team, you move on to the second round of the playoffs. These guys are humble, though. They're a bunch of guys that obviously know that they don't want to end here. They want to keep going. So what was the thought process in the locker room after the game?
Oh, just jubilance, just excitement. I mean, obviously it's a big moment, but they're already kind of, you could tell, they're just excited about who do we play next, and that's kind of, they're hungry, like you said. I do think they're humble. We've preached, quietness and confidence, kind of that hand-to-hand kind of thing. You got to have that confidence, but you got to respect your opponent. I think they have respected. We just don't like listening to, hey, this team's not very, we just don't allow that. It's like, respect your opponent. We fear nobody.
Yeah.
And then go do, go out, try to outplay the team you're playing. And it's, it's been fun to, as we just never talk about the past, and we don't talk about the present. We always kind of stay in the next game, and what's our next program win? I mean, it's 165. That's the next one up. That's all we're concerned about, and not say, hey. Now, I did show them. I think last week I did show a little roadmap of where they're at and what they've done. I was even showing them win probabilities against Indy and Truman and now even a Ouachita. I think some of the computer ratings gave us a 9% chance of winning a Ouachita.
It just fuels a fire, though.
Well, just to remind them, who cares what digit they have in front of their team, their game, their name. Just go play football. I mean, right now, if computer ratings were right, you'd have been 4 wins this year. Right. So, they kind of buy into that stuff.
It's awesome. And a very interesting game coming up this week. It's kind of wild how, leave the MIAA, go to the GLVC, and then you face an MIAA team in the playoffs. A team that you guys have seen before, and a team that a lot of Division II football, I guess, fans are kind of aware of. Obviously, Northwest Missouri State, a team that's had a lot of success as of late, a couple national championships in the past few years. It's kind of a positive and negative thing people might say, as you guys have seen them before. You know what to kind of expect and what to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. On the other side, though, against like a team like Ouachita, they didn't kind of know what you were going to bring to the table. Northwest has seen your guys' offense for the last 2 years, but it seems like this feeling is different. This offense is rolling better than it ever has. So, I mean, your thoughts on the game against Northwest?
Well, it's going to be another grind. I mean, I think the thing that Northwest, I know their head coach well, great guy. We've been friends a long time, and I've always respected, just the little things they do in their program. I mean, they they think like a champion. They've been champions, and so you really respect programs like that. So this is not their first rodeo. A lot of kids that have played in a lot of playoff football games at their program. So our kids understand that. I think even though we played them last year in our league, I think a lot of our kids kind of it still feels a little bit like since we were in a different conference, like we've talked about, every week has been a new team that we've played for the first time. Well, yeah, Northwest we've played before, but a lot of our players that are playing right now haven't played Northwest.
Sure.
We're pretty young in a lot of spots, and so I think as long as the season's been, it kind of has that feel a little bit like, hey, it's just another new team, even though we as coaches and stuff have faced them. Being road warriors, our kids have kind of like that too, that, hey, we're on the road, we're going doing this. We love playing at home, but just kind of being that road warrior thing. And we kind of tell them, we oversell. I mean, it's going to be a hostile environment.
Sure.
The refs aren't even going to give you calls. We felt like we found that out last week
Right.
too. And we've overcame that.
Yeah.
So I think we've just been throwing so much stuff this year at us that our kids are they've been trial tested, and there's nothing new that can come their way that they haven't seen. So, but it's fun. Like I said, it's. I don't really personally get into, and I don't think they do. I know fans do and everything. It's this battle of, this conference versus this conference. And,
right.
Last week it was like, we don't deserve to be there. And,
right. You heard that rumblings and all that. Yeah.
I think us and players, our players eat that stuff up. I mean, I think we're always cautious of what we say because we know that kids are going to get riled up about stuff. But I look at it two really good football teams going at each other and let the whole, the past be the past. And they do. They've had a win streak over us, and until you do something about that, then you can't just talk about it. Right. So I respect all that.
Yeah,
what's going on.
You kind of sit there and you get to reset and just think about it as two good football teams, and not, like you said, don't think about the past. The fact that they have had success against Lindenwood in the past, they've had success in the MIAA. But this season, it's just different. And like you said, too, playoff football is completely different, and you just have to reset and go play. And then, again, there's just two good teams. That's why it's going to be an awesome game. Well,
and that's like I said, coaches, we're always, I know probably what Rich is telling his kids of, you can't take anything for granted. I mean, we're saying the same thing. I mean, it's just a whole different deal. That's what makes college football so fun, and that's what makes the fans and everything. That's part of the whole deal is, fans get passionate about stuff, but we know at the end of the day it's spot the ball, and now you got to play 4 quarters, and and whoever kind of grinds out the most through that game is going to probably come out victorious, and we have a big task at hand, and but we've had a big task last week, and we had a big task to get to this point. So it's right now it's just like I said, go play 4 quarters the best you can, let the chips fall where they may.
As far as X's and O's, what are you going to see from a team in Northwest? They're very balanced. They obviously run the ball well. I mean, they're pretty balanced offense, and the defense is smash mouth like it always has been. But what's the one thing you see that they bring to the table?
Well, I think consistency and just the experience of being there before. I think when you look at schemes and you do that, there's a lot of similarities week in and week out of what teams do. I mean, they've always been, done a great job defensively. Their front four is very good. They're disruptive. You see the games that we've broken down where, it's, you can't stand back in the pocket very long. They're just very good up front. They're very sound. They fly to the football. I'm being a defensive guy. I always admire defenses like that. And offensively, Coach Osborne done a great, very balanced. Like you said, they're almost spot on 50-50 run to pass, and they formation you a lot too, where they're going to give you a lot of formations and looks, and that can be some eye distraction a little bit. So you got to be sound and getting lined up right. The opening play last week for a touchdown, we just didn't get lined up right. We had a gap open, and when you leave a gap open, that's what the result. So we've got to get lined up. We got to sometimes, but I think more than the X's and O's of it, what you expect is it's a team that's used to being in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It's not their first rodeo. and they're at home, and there's a lot of tradition there, and so there's going to be a confidence about them. Obviously, I think the fact that sometimes a young football team like ours, it's rare to. You don't see teams that maybe haven't been in the playoffs for a very long time go in and win a first round, because a lot of it's just new and they don't know what to expect. The fact that our kids have kind of taken this approach, like, I think we're so young in so many spots where they don't know what to expect. They just go play. Sure. I think that's been an advantage for us, because I don't see us tight. I don't see us the worried looks on their faces. They're pretty loose. We'll find out today at practice, but that's how last week was. I just didn't see a tight football team. They were just doing the same old things they've done in practice.
And that makes up for a dangerous football team. You got a lot of young guys that just want to go play ball, and here you are 8 wins later in the second round of the playoffs. It's almost like it can be so simple of, you guys know the plays. We're going to help you out along the way, but you just got to go play the game. Because if you're so uptight and so worried, you're going to make a mistake. And against, like you said, that's why you guys loaded up the non-conference schedule, is because when you play against good teams in the playoffs, every single week it's a good team. If you let up at all in any quarter, you're going to lose. So
we just don't have any pressure on us. That's what I told the guys. Kind of mentioned yesterday. It's kind of like when you're their fan base and you've beat Lindenwood this many times, and they've even put up what the point. I think the psychological warfare, you see all these game notes and everything that's like, they're trying to remind us. For us, it's a little bit like, hey, the pressure to have to win is probably more on their side. It's like, oh wait, you've done this so many times, so you don't want to screw that up. So I always think, that's why we don't even, it's not like I sit there and read all this stuff. I get the motivational locker room, but poster board, bulletin board material. But at the end of the day, the pressure's on them. They're at home and they're used to doing this, and it's Lindenwood. It's Lindenwood. You don't lose Lindenwood, so I think the pressure's more on them than us.
100%. But it's like, if you look at the track record, it's like you guys are buzzsaw. Running through everybody, and it's just that's the thing, is that it's hard to stop this offense. It doesn't matter what's been in the past; it's what's happening now. And the fact is, you guys are a hot football team, and people are starting to take note of it. And again, I think it is on their side of it, where they're so used to being, a team that wins a lot. And here's Lindenwood now with a winning record in second round of playoffs. Like, oh, we've seen them before. That could get them. That could bite them a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think all that's fair and all that. It's absolutely. I think it's again, I just keep reminding our guys just what a fun environment. These are memories you're going to cherish for a lifetime, and we love playing at home, but it's been kind of cool to be on the road the last Southwest and here, and now 3 weeks. Being in hotels together and hanging out together and spending a lot of time together keeps bringing a team close. And it's been, to this point, it's been a memorable experience. But like we've said on the day we got selected, we're just not happy to be here, though. We do have an objective. We do have goals. And, just go play 4 quarters as hard as you can.
What have you been telling them this week in practice? Nothing new, really, just kind of the same, keep fighting.
No, we're just doing the same practice structure and plan. And, it's kind of fun with Thanksgiving. It's always special to practice on Thanksgiving in college football. That means you're doing something special. So that's another cool thing. We're going to have a lot of families, a lot of people taking care of our kids, and us coaches all eating at different people's houses. And so that's another cool part of it. And so same old as far as practice goes. We just haven't really changed much. I think just because we've gone in the playoffs, if you're telling the kids it's just another game, then as coaches, you got to kind of treat it the same way. So, right now we're not changing much. Same routine, same practice, and just have good preparation that usually transfers over to playing well on Saturday.
And why change it? It's been working. It's a good recipe. You got to keep going with it. Coach, I'll ask you what I ask every week. We talk about consistency, and the main thing you want to see from your guys on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to just keep sticking with that effort thing. I think they've really saw that even on like last Saturday of just having some quarter where we didn't play well, or a couple we had some ups and downs. We still played hard, even though we didn't play well in some spots. I think the fact that our effort was always there, we were able to get to the finish line and be able to be victorious. So again, consistency, play hard, and don't let the it's going to be a fun environment. Their crowd's awesome. They do a great job there, just with everything. So just go play hard. 4 quarters, let the chips fall where they may.
Should be a great football game. I love that line, though. It works, though.
kinda
That's
how
the way
we-
it is, man.
That's
the
what
way
we've
it is.
said.
Northwest Missouri State, the Lions take them on Saturday, 1 p.m. for the second round of the Division II 2019 NCAA playoffs. Again, it's on November 30th at 1 p.m. If you cannot catch the action, however, if you cannot be there live, you can catch all the action on 89.1 The Wood and 891thewood.com. And with myself, Jack Leach, and Dominic Kosher, should be a great one in Maryville, Missouri. Coach, as always, man, congratulations on the season. We're really looking forward to this one.
Thanks, TJ.